Hi, guys. I'm so delighted to be here virtually with all of you. I miss being in the same room with you. Today, I'm delighted to be starting off my time on the Inman virtual stage with a panel on how indies are responding. It's obviously a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I've grown up within the indie community myself. I'm going to be joined first by Vanessa Bergman from Red Oak. Vanessa coming on?
I'm here.
Hi.
You can see me. Hello. Red Oak Realty out of Oakland and Berkeley, California.
And then Thad Wong from App Properties.
Hi, I'm Thad Wong, based out of Chicago, Illinois.
Fantastic. And finally, Kofi Nartey with Society Properties.
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me. This is Kofi Nartey, founder and CEO of Society Real Estate and Development here in Beverly Hills, California.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I'm delighted to be on with all of you. And I thought we could start with just kind of an update on what you're seeing in your markets. One of the things that I think that we've all been noticing during this time is that our experience of the COVID period really varies widely based on where we are. So we've got San Francisco, we've got Beverly Hills, and we've got Chicago. Thad, do you maybe want to start just with a quick update on what's happening in Chicago?
Yeah, sure. I think across the country, we were all booming at the beginning of the year. Everything changed at COVID. And what was interesting now, what we just started to see after about 4 weeks ago, we bottomed out and started seeing a resurgence back to home buying, to the point where we had, in the last week, every day we've exceeded our projections for 2020 before COVID. So, we had a very, very big dip, but we were experiencing a very good market. I think people being stuck in their homes for 2 months helped them realize either what they wanted to improve in their home, or deciding that they wanted to get out of an apartment and get into a bigger home, or get a yard, or get a home office. So we primarily deal with affluent markets. So our market was less affected by COVID, fortunately and unfortunately. But right now we're seeing pre the most recent issues, we're seeing incredible focus on real estate and a lot of home ownership, and we thought we would get back to our projections of 2020 by the end of the year.
That's incredible, that. And I think maybe different from Vanessa, what I know you've been experiencing in the context of the Bay Area.
Yeah, we're out of the East Bay, so not San Francisco, kind of a very different market. But right across the bay, 20 minutes away, or 3 hours, depending on traffic. But ultimately, what we've seen was we were one of the first counties to go into shelter in place. So we locked down right away, and we were unessential for a few weeks. So business really just plummeted to below of 70%. But since we've become essential, CAR lobbied, and we became essential pretty quickly, about 2 weeks into it, and there's been a lot of hesitation. I feel like the Bay Area is very conscious of the fact that this was a virus, and conscious in paying attention to our leadership to remain home and to put lives before business. And at that time, everyone stayed in, and we did what we were told to do. And I think because of that, it's been slower to open up. Inventory started down 30% in the Bay Area as the year launched. So we were not having a robust year to begin with. And then it diminished and probably dropped again. So that created, it was just a different market. Now it's picking up again. We are back to multiple offers. We are back to 15 showings and cleanings a day. And it is back. But I think, we're obviously facing a new issues that will change potentially the ability to show and conduct business as usual. So I feel like we're going into a phase 2 of a whole other problem. So that's kind of what's happening in the East Bay right now.
Kofi, tell us about what's happening in LA.
Sure. So just like these other major metropolitan areas, it's a tale of many markets, right? But we're definitely seeing the pent-up demand kind of open up. And we did see the whole shutdown slow things down because we couldn't even show properties. But there are a lot of people who are looking to buy right now, and then there are always people who have to sell. So we're always looking for that segment of the market where activity is happening. And as we started to even open up, we've seen multiple offers. We've seen offers sight unseen. We've been using, video apps to show properties. So, we have a new challenge kind of upon us. Just being sensitive to even what's going on in the world and the environment across the board. But I think in terms of real estate activity itself, we're seeing a real uptick, and I think we're going to continue to see that because interest rates continue to be low. And as the market starts to recover, what goes back up? Interest rates. So people want to lock in the interest rates where they are now.
So one of the things we talked about when we prepped for this was that with this diversity of experiences geographically, there's also been a diversity of experiences, I think, running an indie business. So one of the places I'd like to start is just talking about like profitably managing an indie business right now and ensuring that the business basically like stays in business during this period. Do you all want to talk about kind of how you've been thinking about that, the actions that you've taken to ensure that your business is going to come out of this period robust?
I'll go first. And I'm going to go first by shouting out the two other people on the panel today, because even as I was making my decision to go independent and to spread my wings and own my brand and own my outcome, these were two of the companies that I actually researched. So I know your stories extremely well. And, it's really fun to be on a panel with you today because you guys have really blazed the trail in terms of independent brokerages and really setting up a model that works. But I think in trying times, you always come back to the numbers. You come back to what's necessary, what's unnecessary, not really ways of cutting corners, but doing things more cost effectively. And then really just trimming the fat. There's some advantages to things moving into more of a digital space. Digital tends to be a little bit less expensive than print, for example. And some of the tools that we're going to be utilizing that we've been forced to utilize, but will continue using because they make so much sense, are less expensive than some of the things we used before. But I do think that, everyone has to pay attention to their spend. They have to pay attention to their overhead. I've had to get my own office space now, and that is a different model than I've been used to. And, and looking at that, how many agents will actually utilize it? How much space do we actually need? I've been squeezing the agents saying, listen, if I get more space, you better show up and use it. And if we don't need it, then let's not pay for extra space. But I think these are all things we have to pay attention to.
Yeah. Thad, Vanessa, you've certainly been at this a little longer. Tell us what you've been thinking about adapting your business model.
Thad, you want to go first? I'll wrap it up.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just point out, it's just so odd. I'm like looking into which corner, and I miss being with humans and being able to follow body language here, but I'm trying here with my slow Wi-Fi. I think I bought my company right after the Great Recession, which seems like that was going to be our biggest challenge. But I was sort of like raised in that depressive mindset where I had to work with what I had. So I got very skilled at working with very little and making it go a long way. And so I find that those things have gotten better over the years. And it's been a beautiful 10 years in the real estate industry with price appreciation and inventory and homes trading and building equity. But, once again, when you're faced with that, it's really like getting back on that bike you didn't want to get back on, but you know how to do it. You know what matters. You know what to cut first. To me, the most important thing was to honor the leases that I was in and to honor keeping my entire staff as long as I possibly could. So with that in mind, I cut underneath and kept the things that were my two highest values as a company owner, first and foremost. And then it's really interesting because when you look at your P&L, there's so much stuff in there that you're like, why did I ever have this? And so those were easy to just cut, right? If things went up, if it wasn't really used, it's cut. And there will be more of that coming. But ultimately, as we embrace technology, we have to open up to the fact that offices, even if we own them, will be used for things different than what we were doing with sitting there at the computers and maybe talking and bringing in leftover food from broker's store. I think, as I look at it, I'm thinking, how can I turn that into a digital space? How can I honor again my leases and the agreements that I've made contractually and serve my community, but can I really get progressive about what I do with the space? So while I'm cutting, I'm also innovating, and I'm spending as much time as I possibly can sourcing what I think will be what we need for the future. And I think that's the goal. And with indies, you know, we've built our brands from the ground up, right? Or we've maintained them from the ground up. So this is nothing new for us. We're not waiting for the captain of our ship to tell us what to do. We've always, welcome to the club, but I think you'll be just fine doing this. But I think that'll tell you, I think you'll tell me, it's that we don't wait for anyone to tell us is what to do next. It's up to you to do it. Don't wait for. So that part of it, I think, is we could probably say we slipped into this right away and knew what to do. Sorry.
Yeah, I would add to that. When Vanessa talked about the Great Recession, we learned a tremendous amount. Number one, we acted significantly more swiftly. So we created new budgeting so that we knew we would be financially stable and strong, be able to not only honor our commitments, but continue to invest in innovation. It was really difficult. We made some very quick changes, but I think once you do that, you can make quick decisions because we've been through it before. So I think it was a little bit easier for us. The good news is that the water is really choppy, and that's where we accelerate. So calm water is like the way it's been for like 8 years. It's easy to get in, it's easy to get out. The problem is everybody kind of speeds together so they have the same flow, the same opportunity. When the water gets really choppy, it breeds innovation, competitive spirit, creativity. So we had a lot of things in the hopper that we just accelerated and put right at the forefront. If we were going to be shelter in place and we were going to slow down our business, we had to put that energy and work towards something. So I think coming out of this, you'll see who was working when they were at home and who was thinking about doing things differently and who was excited about the market coming back and who was afraid, because fear affects people in a lot of different ways. For some, it's an incredible motivator and you get down to it and you work your way and you solve your own problems. For others, you wait, you freeze, you wait for someone to bring the solution. And as indies, we don't have that opportunity. There is no lifeline. You either sink or swim. So in this case, we decided to swim faster, blow up some life jackets, get on a boat, try to spend more time with our family. But at the same time, I will tell you, the last 60 days, I've probably never worked harder in my life.
I heard that from a lot of people.
Agreed.
So let's talk a little bit about what those type of innovations are. That maybe you can kick off by talking to us, giving us a bit of a preview of what type of opportunity you think this creates, and then Vanessa, Kofi, I'd love to hear from you as well.
I think everyone's focusing on, everyone likes talking about the marketing side. Nobody likes talking about the digital side of operations, even though that's the spine that keeps it all together. So I'll talk about the fun stuff. Marketing stuff, everybody's now looking for what's next. We've been dealing with physical brochures forever. We've been dealing with physical listing presentations forever. I do not think either of those are going away. And I do believe they will still be strong value propositions. But I think there'll be this great new entree of products. Some people are developing internally as being their own proprietary technology. I think you'll see a lot of companies unveil new ways of showcasing properties. And the cool part is about whether it's a recession, whether it's COVID, whether it's chaos, is that all of these innovations are going to benefit the end consumer, which uplift the individual agent. So those that are betting on the agent's exit stage left are wrong, because a lot of this innovation needs to be introduced, maintained, and shared, not just virtually and from the back end of a computer, but from a human being, from a smile and through relationships. So the digital addition to the agent, I think that's happening over the next 18 months will be the best we've seen. Again, I think there'll be a lot of operation stuff that's probably more important and better, but it doesn't have the sex appeal or the shine that you really want to see. So that shiny stuff that's coming out is going to be really cool.
Kofi, I know you are affiliated with Side, and I think that's also an interesting approach. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
You broke up at the beginning of it. Say it one more time.
I said, I know that, Thad was talking about the end-to-end operation systems, and I know you're affiliated with Side.
Yes.
And I think that's also an interesting sort of approach. Maybe you can speak to that a little bit as a new indie owner.
100%. So I think even it tackles part of the first question about where we're looking at, sort of budget constraints and, paying attention to where the money's going. because Side has also taken a lot off of our plate running our back end for us. And that was part of the reason that allowed me to start my own brokerage sooner, is I didn't have to create all the tech that I knew I would need. I didn't have to create, the platform, the marketing platform, the CRM systems that all integrated together. And Side was able to do that. So that was a huge lift and a huge burden off our backs. And then they have so much, it's a VC backed company. So they're always tracking the latest trends. They can invest in creating their own technology, for the partners like myself, and then we can just implement. And then we marry that with the tools and resources that we find on our own, and we've become more digital than ever, everything from GoToMeeting to Zoom calls to a great new app that I've been using called Revio for home tours, and all of these things are going to be tools that, one, will look to either white label if we can, because some of these companies offer that. So it becomes a branded opportunity for us, or it's something that we just want to make sure is helping that interaction with the client that Thad was touching on, because we are still a belly-to-belly business. So we have to find ways, excuse me, where we can still gauge the actual emotions and emotional responses and nuances of those emotions of our clients and the people we're engaging with, to get deals done effectively.
Yeah. Vanessa, you want to wrap us up with this idea?
Yeah, I think I really agree, Thad, that it's going to be, we are as agents going to remain incredibly relevant. I am not worried about that. If anything, I'm probably more convinced and have more conviction that that's our future. I'm excited about the opportunity that the digital playground now really gives us. We have seen and learned more through just this open and non-paid for media. And what I'm excited to see is who that brings out into the world and how that conversation around homeownership, wealth building, equity can be pushed through on a platform where you don't have to pay a lot of money to do that. You don't have to have a big bulk subscription. You don't have to be VC backed. You don't have to be anything other than who you are, taking control over a medium that we have had permission to use for the first time in history. And I think as I delve into my brokerage, I'm going to look mostly to the young generation to see how I can build a company and grow a company right here in my own backyard in a place I'm committed to for decades, and take that to the next level. But it's always going to be because of a human relationship, and it's always going to be about community. So it's a little bit of off track of your answer, but I think right now, what I read was that 10 jobs were lost during COVID, and that every 10 that are going, 3 are gained. 3 new jobs and 3 new opportunities are created. And there has never been a time in history where there has not been extreme chaos, but after that chaos is extreme innovation and growth. And whether that is the planet burning down, whether that, there is opportunity in everything. And as dark and as tragic as things are getting, and we'll get more, we are maybe not even halfway through this, I think that there is a massive opportunity. So I'm looking really, I think the best thing I can do and the wisest thing I can do as I'm looking 50 ahead of me is to look to that next generation and say, teach us how to do this moving forward. And I just want to stay open to, and I think really where it's going to happen is right here in this digital world, because we are connecting more now and getting more personal and transparent and authentic. We're all talking to each other from our houses to, I don't know how many thousands of people. And that authenticity, I am like, bring it, please. I've been waiting my whole life for it. And I think technology is going to be the place to do it.
I love that. So guys, it's time for us to wrap. And Thad and Vanessa, we talked about maybe having each of you offer an insight or a best practice that you picked up during this period. I'd love to hear maybe something related to tech innovation, what you're doing, but also maybe just something practical about how you're managing this period of uncertainty, Vanessa, as you mentioned. So I'm actually, Thad, why don't you start, because you were a little more prepped for this.
That's funny that you say I'm prepped, because I have no idea. But you're asking me, effectively something I've learned. I think in times when you're really stressed and you have anxiety and you're driven, I have a tendency to learn more about myself and figure out what I'm capable of internally. And I relied a lot on myself and looking inwardly, but I also connected more closely, not only with my family, but with my friends and all my colleagues at work. So I figured out in a short period of time that I'm a lot smarter with significantly strong people around me. And so I got really close with people and talked openly and shared goals and came up with some great ideas. And then again, started bringing more people together to start working on those ideas. So I guess one thing I figured out, in a somewhat of a narcissistic climate that we live in these days, that I am far more stronger and better and healthier and a better dad and a better partner and a better business leader the more people I collaborate with and the more I rely on the assistance and the open sharing of others. So that piece of humanity is something that I feel really good about over the last 60 days.
Kofi, I think you were nodding. You feel the similar way. Yeah.
Definitely. Just to piggyback on what Thad said, this was a great opportunity to learn more about ourselves. We started with social distancing, and then I started using the term social cocooning because it turned into who are we going to be on the other side of this? How are we going to be better? And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about kind of the bigger picture of what's going on and still marry it to what Thad was saying about different voices. And this is a great opportunity as indie brokerage owners to bring different voices to the table. And we put forth that challenge to the larger brokerages. When you look at the C-suite of brokerages and we look at the C-suites of companies, what does that page look like? If I'm scrolling through the page, I should be able to scroll quickly and see someone who looks like me. Even if I don't see their features, I can see a color that looks like mine, right? And I looked at the pages of the brokerages I'm on the panel with, and they have that, which is great. And my brokerage has that. And we just want to keep pushing that forward because those unique experiences and dynamic backgrounds, that's what makes the conversation extremely rich. And it really ultimately brings more value, not just to our industry, but specifically to our clients.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah. Vanessa, want to wrap us up again, girl?
I'll wrap it up. I personally agree with both of you. This is a great panel to be on because I admire you both, and I'm excited to see what you're going to do out there too, Kofi. I think what I have learned most and what I am continuing to learn every day is just the power of our own mind. That whatever is happening externally, whatever it is, it's really the discipline and the control and how you speak to yourself and how you think of things. And it could really change how you move forward in the world. And we could be triggered by things that are just thoughts. They are not happening. And we could be triggered by things that are happening that become bigger thoughts. And over the last, 75 days, I have been thankful and I have been learning that, wow, there is so much about our brains and our mind that we don't know. It's a whole part of me, a whole thing that I want to dive into because it's incredible what you can put up with and get through and the resiliency. And so much of it is not what we are in our physical, and it's not as in our physical experience. It's really just in our minds. And if there's anything you can do to just get that mental toughness and that agility and elasticity available and resourced, you will find incredible things are possible. So that's my biggest takeaway from these days.
Yeah, I love that as a way to end. Thank you guys so much. It's a pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay safe, all of you.